Hey, welcome back to the garage, everyone. All right, in today's video, we finally get the camshaft and the timing set installed on our little L82 small block 350. So you guys stick around. It's going to be good. All right, we went ahead and painted up the new timing cover. As you'll note, this one has a recess for the cam button. So, and also I'm making another assumption that says there's no need to place shims in this combination with this cam button, this timing cover, and the cam button. They're both from PBM. They came in the kit, and I'm assuming that, you know, this is designed for a small block Chevrolet engine, and this timing cover is meant to go with the cam button, so there shouldn't be any shims involved here. Now, if you notice in some of the other kits and whatnot, you see a few other YouTube videos, guys are putting these cam buttons in to retrofit these older engines for roller cams, and they're farting around with shims and whatnot. I don't think we're going to need that. We might, but I think the engine builder that sold me this stuff would probably have said something if we needed that stuff. But I don't think we do. Anyway, so I'm getting ready to start putting this motor back together, and we need to go ahead and get this seal in place. You always want to start with it square. Always start square. There we go. We're going in there now. I don't want to bend my cover. I think we're good. Yeah, I'm going to have to put some more paint on it. All right, one seal installed. And I got to go get another fresh can of GM Blue and touch that up a little bit. All right, up next we're going to go ahead and install the crankshaft, the gear for the timing set onto the crankshaft. And we're going ahead and if I can get it out of the box, I'm just going to put it in a little mineral spirits right now and just clean it off just a little bit. Get off any residual packing stuff, you know. Not sure if they put any greasy stuff on here or not to keep it from rusting. Looks like it's been anodized, so it's got a dark coating on it. So this is probably pointless, but it'll be okay. All right, this thing is pretty sophisticated. This is one of those timing sets that lets you do some advanced and some retard if you want. But we're just going to go straight up zero, and we're going to go for that zero notch right there on the keyway. So these crank gears, you know, they're not on there like with super duper, you know, force and all, but I'm going to rig up a little pusher and fully seat that here. So let me cobble up to something together and I'll be right back. We've got our bearing, piece of pipe, piece of bar stock, 4 washers, and a partridge in a pear tree. I don't want them bearings to blow up on me. I think we bottomed out there. Some of this stuff's got some give to it. All right, I think we bottomed out. One crank sprocket installed. Let's move on to the next step. All right, we're getting ready to install the camshaft, and I've got to clean it up first, however. And I was just sitting here looking at things. I shined the light up in there and got this layer of assembly lube all over all of the bearings. You see these ports right here. I can't recall what they're for. I think they go into the oil passage. I'm not sure. I can't really recall. But you can see where they put new caps in there, plugs rather, and they swaged the block. They put a dimple right there to hold them in place. So Very nice work indeed by the machine shop in that regard. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this camshaft cleaned up and get this thing installed in the engine. All right, let's get her out of the box here. Some kind of way. Mineral spirits, clean brush, got some plastic wrap over here. I'm trying to keep things clean. Hey, look at that. They gave us some assembly grease. How about that? I think that is meant to go on the distributor gear. Well, anyway, I'll tell you what we're going to do first. I'm going to go ahead and get this cam card out of here. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll start to clean up the camshaft. Well, I guess they were concerned about somebody stealing this cam card. There we go. Erson cams, 7301 Global Drive, Louisville, Kentucky, 40258. Part number E119837. The grind is RH294-5. Lobe separation is 112 degrees. 74 degrees overlap. Intake opens at 35 degrees. Exhaust closes at 39. Intake closes at 79. Exhaust opens at 83. Valve lift, 510 thousandths. Duration is 294 on the intake, 302 on the exhaust. We got checking figures at 50,000, tappet rise. Duration at 50 thousandths is 226 on the intake and 234 on the exhaust. So interesting numbers indeed. Of course, you know, a cam grind can be just literally, there's just a million different ways you can grind a camshaft. So Cam Pro Plus Cam Lift Report. So I guess this is the digital readout from the machine after they grind it. It has all the degrees and everything. Bunch of information there. Not that that's going to help me, but I'm not degreeing this camshaft. All camshaft must be degreed in the engine. It is the installer's responsibility to check for piston to valve retainer to guide and valve spring clearance. Let's read that again. It is the installer's responsibility to check for piston to valve, retainer to guide, and valve spring clearance. Oil and additives. It is highly recommended that you use a conventional SF or SE grade SAE 20 or SAE 30 weight non-detergent motor oil with break-in additive Erson E911 000 or Joe Gibbs Racing Oil engine break-in oil part number 00107. Due to the high ratio of detergents to zinc in new generation diesel oils, it is no longer recommended for flat tappet camshafts. This is not a flat tappet camshaft. This is a roller camshaft. Do not use any other additives at this time. Coat cam lobes with cam lube supplied with the camshaft. Prime the oil system by turning the oil pump manually. Break-in procedure. Flat tappet cam. Flat tappet cams only. Rollers do not require break-in. Manufacturer said it right there. So I'm going to ignore the break-in procedure. Recommended valve spring pressures. Note the pressure figures given here are guidelines only. Some special applications may require different pressures. When in doubt, please contact Erson Technical Department at the following phone number. Hydraulic flat, solid flat, hydraulic roller camshaft. 130 pounds seat pressure. 300 to 325 pounds open pressure. Interesting. If you need to send a camshaft to us for any reason, fill out this form and attach it. All right. Well, that's a lot of very, very thorough information indeed. So let me digest this for a few minutes, then we'll get right back to you. All right, so to reiterate this sentence right here, rollers do not require a break-in. So really, and I've already talked to the engine builder, he put this kit together based on stuff that he builds all the time, okay? So everything he sent me is supposed to go together. So, and I've already talked to him about the break-in. He said, don't worry about the break-in. He said, just go with 10W30 oil on your initial startup. And that's what I went here. I went with the Valvoline VR1 1030. That should be fine. That's very good stuff. All right, she's greasy, all right. I don't want to let it slip out of your hands, that's for sure. All right. Certainly is pretty. Wonder what those marks there are for. They got some white paint and some green paint there. That must be quality control paint. What do you reckon? All right, this is going to be extremely exciting. All I'm going to do is mineral spirits this thing. Then I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray it down with some brake clean. And then I'm going to coat this thing up with some oil and put some assembly lube on the lobes and a little extra assembly lube on the bearing surfaces. And then we're going to put it in the engine. So I'll be right back. All right, so eventually I opted to take the camshaft inside and wash it with hot soapy water with Dawn. What I did was I found some remnants of some greasy, grindy stuff left over from the manufacture process in between the last bearing and the distributor gear. I couldn't really get it out in here, and I was listening to My Vintage Iron on YouTube, and he's like, engine parts, camshaft, go wash it in hot soapy water. Get all that remnants of the manufacturing process off of there, and let me tell you something, My Vintage Iron was right. So, wash your stuff. Anyway, so I took it in the house, and of course the sink was full, and then so that meant I had to do dishes. So in order to do this I had to do dishes, but I couldn't do dishes first because we were out of dishwashing liquid. So I went to Walmart and bought some Dawn, came back, did the dishes, and then I washed my camshaft. I laid it out on the counter on some dry cloths and I dried it real good, and then I laid it on this cellophane, and I carried some engine oil in the house and I drizzled it on top of the cam while it was laying on the cellophane, then I wrapped it and brought it out here. Anyway, that was my process. And I think the next thing on my agenda for this shop is a parts washer after that fiasco. So that is assembly grease. Do I really need assembly grease? Gee whiz. I bought some Lucas assembly lube. I think I'm going to put the grease on the gear for the distributor, and I'll use the Lucas for the lobes and the bearings. How about that? That sounds like a good plan, doesn't it? Let's do it that way. But she's already oiled up, so we're going to increase the lube by about 1,000% here. And note to self, do not drop camshaft. All right, let's see. We'll put the grease on the distributor gear. Get it down in there. I got a couple of 6-inch 5/16 by 18 bolts. These will be our handle when we install the camshaft. I should have screwed them in before I started this. Oh man, that's much easier having that handle there. Let the guarantee, boy. We'll just put a dab, I guess, on. Hell, we'll put it on everything, I guess. There's already lube on the bearings inside the motor, but hell, what could it hurt? You know? What could it hurt? Put a little extra on that back one. It's got to go through all the bearings. We better do this with my right hand. Seeing as how I'm right-handed. Slowly. Slowly. All right, we got to pick up some more. Having these two 6-inch bolts back here as a handle is just really nice. Oh man, she's spinning really nice. Don't go too fast now. Slow down. There we go. Let's take a break. How about that? Can we just take a break right here? You ain't got to do it all at once, in my mind. All right. I imagine the last bit is the hardest. Careful. Six-inch bolts. That's the way to go. I'm telling you. I ain't gonna lie. Ooh, that's nice. That spins so nice. All right. I'm happy as a lark. I'm happy as something that's happy. All right. Let me take these bolts out of here. Take this mess off. Well, no, we can leave that on there. Let's go ahead and put the timing set on next. What do you say? All right, so I turned the engine just a little bit to get the 0 mark straight up right there. So the 0 mark next to that tooth, that's your dot, right? So it's going to correspond to or be next to the dot on the timing gear, cam gear. I think I got it straight up and down. We're going to find out, aren't we? So that little nub right there usually is out to the right when you install the timing set. Well, we got to get our gear on there. There we go. Oh, come on. Man, we were on there. Then you screwed around and let it slip. All right, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on, man? I didn't have the bottom chain all the way on. That's what's going on. I did this once on this car. All right, let's do it without the chain here. It's always, as the British would say, a little bit of a faff getting these things on there. All right, got a little warm in here. I turned my air conditioner on, so I'll try to muffle some of it out with the equalizer when I do the editing. So I had turned the engine over to top dead center earlier. This guy is all the way up. This timing mark is pointing straight up, longitudinally towards the center of the engine. All right, so and you slip your timing gear up here. Get your dots right next to one another. Get them lined up. Basically, if you need to, put a bolt in there. Make sure your dowel pin is engaged with the gear, and you can turn the cam, and you know that they're lined up, right? Take that back off. Get the chain. Make sure it's all the way on the crank sprocket. Because of the way that it is, as Vice Grip is fond of saying, sometimes you're not going to be able to slip this thing together because of the angle, the width of the chain, and so on and so forth. However, I slipped the camshaft out of the engine slightly, and I might be able to get a bolt started. In other words, I just took the camshaft and just slid it out slightly. Damn, I believe that worked pretty well, actually. So, yeah. How about that? We got 2 bolts in there started, so that means we're lined up. All right, so I took another bolt out because I can't get the cam button in there with that 3rd bolt in there. So basically just a little bearing here, right? And the big end goes against the camshaft and just slips right up in there. And you got this locking plate that goes over the whole affair. And now that we got our chain on, we can take these bolts out carefully. Gonna hold that so it doesn't fall. And we get our locking plate in place. Get some bolts in here. All right, we're home free. All we gotta do is tighten things down now. So I took the advice of one of my viewers. Was it Ron or was it Rick? I can't recall. And they're like, because I was complaining about having all my sockets were dirty for engine building. And they're like, dude, just clean up the sockets you need for your project. I'm like, that's a good idea. So that's what I did. All right, let me look up the spec. I think it's like, I don't know, 20 foot-pounds or 30, I'm not sure. Yep, got my handy torque settings from the service manual. Camshaft sprocket, 20 foot-pounds. It's times like this when I wonder whether or not I'm doing this right. You don't really need Loctite, you don't really need lock washers, because this little lock plate is here. Clearly, since I'm such a noob, that's what the lock plate is for. Because these tabs, what you do is you bend them over, and that's what keeps these bolts from backing out. That's about 20. As Jeff Bradshaw says, click, 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 check. I'm gonna call that good. You really have no idea how nasty your tools are until you start to clean them. Oh my gosh. All right, I sharpened this little chainsaw screw. Screwdriver, that is. That's for adjusting the mixture on a chainsaw. I think is what it's for. There we go. Not ideal, but it works. Those tabs are really quite robust. All right, I got a flat punch here. A little more conducive to not digging a trench in that little lock plate. Of course, you know that I screwed this up and I'm going to need to take it all apart again, and I'll have to order another lock plate kit because you can't bend it again, you know. That's probably going to happen. Think positively now. All right, that is definitely what the locking plate is for, because you cannot get a socket on those. You can't get a torque wrench on it. You have to guess at 20 pounds, and then you roll those over and you're done. All right, timing set is installed. On to the next step. All right, let's go ahead and get our crank bolt out of here. And we're gonna, up next, we're gonna go ahead and install this timing cover. And along with the timing cover, we're gonna have to have an aftermarket timing cover mark. It actually bolts to these two holes right here. And I got one on Amazon, but it doesn't quite fit. It doesn't fit quite right. It's down too low. It's supposed to be for an 8-inch harmonic balancer like we have, but it basically touches it, so that's not acceptable. So I'll probably end up bending it, and then I'll paint it, and then no one will ever know. How about that? So anyway, let me go ahead and get some gaskets on this thing and get this cover on the motor. You always dry fit. This aftermarket cover may need a little modification. All right, these holes are supposed to be 1/4 inch. I compared it against the other cover. These are not quite 1/4 inch. So it just needs just a slight shave with a bit. So I'm gonna take this outside, shave those holes a little bit, and then we'll bolt it up. All right, so I had to take this hole and just barely elongate it that way with the drill. And she goes on there real nice now. I guess that's what you know, that's all part of, you know, aftermarket parts, I reckon. All right, let's try again. All right, I found the last timing cover bolt right where I put it on my workbench where everybody could see it, except for me. All right, but I'm not going to tighten this down just yet until I find that other oil pan bolt and I take a break. So I think we've come along pretty well here. We got our camshafts installed, got our timing set installed, got a cover on. I think up next we'll find that other bolt and we'll get this oil pan cinched down to the engine with the proper gaskets, of course. So, all right, we'll be back shortly. All right, I went ahead and tightened up the timing cover. It's 80 inch-pounds on those bolts. So that's all done. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get this oil pan on here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say permanently, which, you know how that is in engine world. It's basically semi-permanent. Clean the block up, RTV it, apply gaskets, put more RTV on, put oil pan on, torque oil pan to spec. That's pretty much the process. So I'm probably going to speed up the video and zip right on through this. All right, folks, I think I'm going to have to keep this video short this week. Sorry about all that. I kind of apologize we didn't get to the heads. I was really kind of looking forward to that, but I'm out of time. Saturday was a wash. I had to go out of town and take care of some family business. So we got that all done, and I was back today, and I was able to get in here and do a little bit of work, and basically just tightening up the timing cover and getting the oil pan cinched down to the right spec. Before I put any oil in the engine, I would really prefer to let the Permatex Ultra Gray dry overnight anyway. So, you know, I'm kind of at a pause anyway, so it's okay. So, regular job is calling and gonna take me away for 2 or 3 days, so I'll have to go do that, and then I can come back to this mid to latter part of next week. Anyway, when I come back, it's going to be heads, finish assembling the rest of the valve train, which will include the rockers and push rods and lifters and all that kind of stuff. And I'm saving the harmonic balancer for last because that's a really kind of a pain. So if I have to take something apart and have to pull that thing back off, I don't want to do that. So that's probably the last thing I do. Anyway, next video, we'll put the heads back on this engine. And we'll get some lifters in there and push rods and the rockers and all that jazz, and we'll go ahead and start priming the oil system. So that should be our goal for next weekend. Again, I apologize. I had to keep this video a little shorter this weekend. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?